Hi, I'm Mitchell Ringos. Welcome to Word for Word, where we offer you an in-depth look at some of our interviews with newsmakers from across the region. You'll have the opportunity to hear word for word how they responded to the news of the day. The Thunder Bay Public Library has released its master facilities plan, with the focus still being a centralized location at Inner City Shopping Center. The possibility of closing down 2 neighborhood branches is still among the options, with the decision ultimately falling on City Council at the end of the month.
Facilities plan has been released. Take me through maybe some of the big highlights, some of the things that are most important to you and the library as a whole.
And so some of the really interesting things coming out of the Master Facilities Plan is really just how much the community supports this new vision for the Central Library. So obviously we're presenting a range of options to City Council. The biggest version of the system is a Central Library in 4 neighborhood branches, and then going down to 3 or possibly 2 neighborhood branches and the Central Branch. We want to be really realistic about the financial capacity of the city to fund the system and really put something on the table that meets as many options as City Council wants to consider. Ultimately, it'll be up to City Council to pick which one they endorse. Obviously, the library is going to be lobbying for the stronger, more robust, better service system with 4 neighborhood branches. And I think there's really strong community support for that. So in the survey that we did in May, we had over 2,000 people respond. Their results analyzed by a professional statistician, arm's length, third party, and they came back with the analysis that across all major demographics, the city as a whole supports this move for the new library system. They want a central branch. They like a strong neighborhood branch system where every neighborhood can have its own library that's walkable, that's accessible, and that they're actually willing to pay for it. So we gave people the toughest question there is, not just how do you feel, but put your money where your mouth is. And on average, people said they're willing to pay almost $40 extra on their taxes to pay for this. That varies by person, but on average, that's the demand. And the biggest library system, the central library and 4 neighborhood branches, would only cost about $30 extra per person. So we see there's really robust, hard data that shows that it's not only something people want, but something that people are willing to pay for. So we're hoping this master facilities plan really illuminates all of those details the community's been asking for, that city councilors will sit down and read with it. I've been trying to have conversations with city councilors to really walk them through the nuances of all the financial complexities and make sure they're fully informed for the June 26th date.
Okay, and in terms of this plan now that it's released, I was at a few of the consultation meetings. I know there was feedback on both sides, a lot of positive, some negative. How did the feedback and those consultation sessions maybe shape what this master facilities plan looks like?
Yeah, so they definitely played into it. I mean, our consultation process was very long and extensive. It really started back in 2021 when we brought in some outside consultants to assess our buildings, and they did some of the legwork that really shaped the plan itself. So talking with elected officials, administration, regular people on the street, different organizations, and all of the data started pointing towards the fact that the community wanted and needed this new type of structure. And then we followed up on that in 2023, talking with over 45 local organizations, everyone from the Chamber of Commerce to Elevate. We talked with over 2,000 members of the public in their public survey. We had all the 4 different public consultation sessions, so as much public input as possible. And what it did is start to shape a lot of the nuances of where we're going, really gauging if the central library branch is a good idea. We know there's people on both sides of this topic, as we would expect for any big change in the city. But the data really shows that there is community consensus behind this, and people are actually willing to pay for it. And that's one of the big things that we talked through in the consultation process is, if not this, then what? And I think that was where a lot of people struggled. Whether you're on side or more skeptical of this new vision for the system, we know the current system isn't sustainable. We're not getting the funding we need to maintain our buildings. We don't have enough programming space. We're actually turning away children wanting to attend our reading programs because we don't have enough programming space for them. And I'm sure that kind of breaks the heart of myself and every member of the community, knowing the way we're turning kids who want to read because we don't have the appropriate space. And so when we put this forward, we're confident that it's the best that we can do with the resources and kind of community appetite we have right now. And if not this, then what? And I think that's where the conversation takes a turn for the worse, right? And if we don't embrace the new vision, if we don't have the community endorsement for innovation and updating and modernization, then what by default is we're stuck with a system that's not sustainable, that's not meeting the needs of the community, and really that is more susceptible to future budget cuts. So if you care about the library and have a strong passion for what we do for the community, we think this is the best way forward, and we're inviting everyone in the community to come with us on this journey.
Something I was going to ask about was spacing. I know that's something that was an issue. Obviously, a centralized location with the size that it would be a big benefit for that. But let's say council doesn't approve what the library is looking for. Centralized location stays, but a couple neighborhood branches are lost. Does the centralized location kind of make up for losing other branches possibly in terms of spacing for programming?
Yeah, so it's a difficult question. I mean, we know the neighborhood presence can never be replaced, right? We want strong neighborhood branches because we feel that's an essential part of the system. But what the new central location gives us is that expansiveness that we really don't have right now. So for example, our county park branch is only 4,000 square feet. So there's no programming space, there's no children's rooms where they can be kind of more secure from other members of the community. It's just too small to accommodate the demands of that area. So we would love to have a good neighborhood branch there, but then supplemented by something like the central branch, which would have 75,000 square feet of space. So I think it's something that it's hard to appreciate unless you look at the numbers. So in the system overall, we have about 62,000 square feet. That's every supply closet, every administrative office, every bit of square footage the library touches. It falls just short of 62,000 square feet. With the new system, we're in the range of, let's say 110 to, 90,000 square feet, depending on which scenario. So even in the smallest scenario where we lose the most neighborhood branches, which is not something I'd like to see, but something we put forward as realistic for council's consideration, we would still see a huge increase in library space, over 30,000 square feet added to the system, basically at a cheaper price tag. The same thing with operating hours. We know we can't fit enough hours into our buildings right now because of the limitations. But with the central branch, we actually increase our hours by 35%. Be opening evenings, be open Saturdays and Sundays. So there's just the physical limitations and the financial constraints of our current system can't be met. They can't meet community needs right now. So the central branch augments us in a way that's financially responsible and has a hugely disproportionate impact to its price tag. It's really the best bang for our buck we can get when we talk about providing library services.
Thunder Bay's most iconic arena is getting closer to receiving its new exterior upgrades. The Fort William Gardens improvement plan will be brought to City Council for approval of the $1.4 million project. The gardens first opened in 1951, and the city has committed to extending its lifespan for another 15 years.
Okay, first off, I know this is something we've talked about in the past, but maybe remind me of the project as a whole that will be coming to council on Monday for approval.
So the portion of work this season will be upgrades to the building envelope that's remaining, new roof, enhanced insulation, insulating the infill walls between the haunches, and new cladding on those walls. And then interior, we'll be looking at putting a low emissivity coating on the curling rink ceiling and doing some ceiling repairs in the gardens proper.
Okay, and in terms of benefits, I know there is city plan to extend the life of the gardens as a whole. How does this play into that?
So there's a couple benefits. Number one, we've had some ongoing building envelope issues that we're going to be addressing now. We're also going to be increasing the insulation value, which will reduce energy use in the building itself. And then just the aesthetic improvement that comes along with that.
Can build off the energy savings. I know that's a big part of it. It's a lot of where the city's going and many projects along these lines. Can you speak more to it and maybe cost savings that are associated with energy savings as well?
So the complete project, building envelope and HVAC and operating renewal, I believe, in the neighborhood of $130,000 a year in savings, total operative savings. We won't see that obviously until the project's fully complete and until we see the numbers in, but that's the projected savings with all the energy efficiency changes that would take place. So including the windows and doors from the original construction that we're replacing.
So in terms of outside funding sources, whether it be provincial, federal, is that something the city's looked into for this project? Are there applications out? Can you give me more information on that?
So there's currently an application out that's in process. We will be getting some funding from other governmental levels, but I can't speak to that at this time.
You can't speak to which levels of government it would be?
Right now, it's the federal government, but I can't speak further than that.
Appreciate it. And I think it might be my last question, just to kind of wrap things up. I know the city's looking to extend the life of the gardens for quite a bit. We know it's not going to last forever, but this is a big help in terms of this project. What's the next step to extend the life of the gardens? Are there other projects that the city's going to be focused on to improve the facility?
So over the next 2 years, we will be doing some ice plant heat recovery, which will reuse the ice plant heat that's taken out of the sheet of ice as they freeze it. It'll reuse it in the snow melting and repurpose it for HVAC use. And then the other thing we'll be looking at doing is accessibility improvements in the concessions and the lobby as well as another major project over the next 2 years.
Ring of Fire Metals held an open house last week to showcase their new Thunder Bay office space. The company is currently working to push forward the Eagle's Nest mine project, which is one of the largest undeveloped nickel, copper, platinum, and palladium deposits in the world. The open house at the new location in Innova Park offered an opportunity for leaders in Thunder Bay and area First Nations to stop by and speak with Ring of Fire representatives.
Let's start off, obviously an exciting day. You mentioned you've been operating out of this space since about March or April. Grand opening though here. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, we're excited to have the grand opening for our Thunder Bay regional office here for Ring of Fire Metals. You know, the team's worked very hard to set up this new office space to welcome in, whether it's community members, whether it's other contractors that we're working with. So we're hosting it today with our community members who are coming out for the welcoming.
Okay, and tell me a little bit more about what's going on today. I know you said it sounds like the mayor is coming through. What would the festivities, I guess, look like throughout this open house?
Certainly. Today is a day where we have an opportunity to have a ribbon cutting ceremony and opening here to welcome in our community members, as I said. So we have the chief from Martin Falls here, the chief from Webequie here. We also have some other community members that have come in as well. Some of the MPs that are here as well will be stopping by. So we're very excited about that. We're excited to be and continue to be a proud member of the Thunder Bay region and of the economic and the business development of this region.
Okay, and in terms of having an office space now in Thunder Bay, how does that maybe benefit operations for Ring of Fire?
Well, we've had an office here in Thunder Bay since 2010. It was formerly in an industrial area, and this area is an industrial area as well. We're quite comfortable in that space, but one of the big changes for us here is to have a much more open space area where we can have people that can stop by and drop in if they have questions, if they want to engage on the Eagle's Nest project development piece. We have a space now that can accommodate that, and it's a very welcoming space for people to come into.
Okay, and it was something you kind of touched on slightly before we hit record here. Talk about the work that went into this, though, because walking in it is a welcoming space. It feels modern. Tell me what happened over the last few months to get it all ready.
Well, certainly. One of the big changes for us as Ring of Fire Metals, as most people in Ontario are well aware of, is we were formerly Noront. And with our new ownership, of course, we've changed a number of things in our front-facing office, as well as a number of things that are underlying our business. One of the key things that you'll see here today is our values wall that we're very proud of, that's both written in English and Ojibwe. And the values piece is a piece that fundamentally we believe in for work here. Not to say that Noront didn't, it's a carry-on and a carry-through of the values that Noront held true, but an alignment for Ring of Fire Metals with the parent company of Wailu in Australia. Our values are the things that tie us together and tie all of our other sister companies together as well.
And we haven't spoken to you since you took on the role. It's been a few months now. I remember doing the interview with you when you started. Just tell me, what have you seen from Ring of Fire maybe over the last 3 or 4 months since you started? What are you excited about from the group?
One of the things that I'm really excited about and really encouraged by is we've had a great government engagement program that we've undertaken. We continue to work very well with the provincial government, and we see great support coming from the provincial government. But we've also seen an opening for discussion with the federal government, and are truly appreciative of that. A recognition of the development of critical minerals in Canada, and a recognition of the proponent that we've put together for Eagle's Nest project going ahead.
Okay, and maybe speak to the importance of these types of minerals that are in northwestern Ontario. At this point, we're hearing about shortages. A lot of places are looking for these kind of things. I think about the automotive industry. How crucial is this project to not just northwestern Ontario, but providing these minerals cross-country and beyond?
We certainly think that there is a definite need for it here in Ontario and in Canada. I think many Canadians are well aware of the recent announcements for the financial support behind the cell manufacturing for battery electric vehicles, notably for Volkswagen, and the ongoing discussions for Stellantis. Ring of Fire Metals and the Eagle's Nest project play a key role in that for the sustainable sourcing of nickel that would ultimately be destined for those batteries. And we're strongly promoting a made in Ontario approach, a made in Canada approach that keeps the source of supply local and in Canada. And most importantly, a source of supply that has worked together collaboratively in partnership with the First Nations in the region. And that's a big piece of what we're advocating for and a big piece of our business model.
And build off that, you're talking about the First Nations in the region. You said a couple representatives from a few communities will be here today. Maybe over the last few months, what have discussions with those groups look like that would be impacted by this?
Look, we continue to have ongoing discussions with the First Nations, such as Webequie and Martin Falls, and continue to engage as to what the progress for the Eagle's Nest project would look like. Continue to maintain an up-to-date position on the environmental assessment that the First Nations are leading for the road area, and also an understanding of some of the engagement that they're conducting with other First Nations as well. And we maintain an open position for the other First Nations in the region from an outreach perspective. If they have questions, if they have concerns and comments, we're open for dialogue and engagement on those particular aspects, and continue to reach out on a regular basis.
Thunder Bay City Council is being asked to approve the preferred design for Victoria and Syndicate Avenue's redevelopment project. If the plan moves forward, Victoriaville Mall will be demolished in the fall of 2024, making way for the construction and street revitalization in 2025.
Yeah, so on Monday, Council will be reviewing a report about the preferred design option for the demolition of Victoriaville and the opening of Victoria Avenue. So that's an important milestone. It sets the working budget for the project and some of the major elements, and would have the engineering group continue with more detailed design and put that out for tender this fall. So yeah, once again, very, very important part of the project.
Okay, and so the public has seen some kind of previews of what this design might look like. Is there anything new from what the public has seen, or does it kind of expand upon that?
Well, I think it's more of a refinement of what the public has seen over time. So there have been a few different versions that have gone to the public, so starting broad and becoming narrower. So there was consideration in terms of design themes. So there's a boreal theme and an urban heritage theme. The urban heritage theme was preferred. There were elements and, let's say, programming features that the public considered, and the design that's before council is reflective of that, and includes a green space, a lawn that can be an attraction for programming and hardscaping as well.
Can you maybe talk to, obviously we see some construction tape around, there's work going on in the mall right now. How does that kind of prepare for when the demolition goes ahead, and what exactly is going on right now?
Yeah, so the work that's going on right now is some destructive testing and sort of exploration. So, behind here we've uncovered the foundations to know what we are, what we're working with. So this section here will be closed off. There'll be a new entrance that goes to the McKellar space, and also exploring what finishes with the existing buildings are suitable for exterior exposure, and so we can further design what needs to be replaced. Also part of the report package going to council is some architectural theming. So it would be to that theme that the municipal buildings would be designed for, and the work that's necessary for the privately owned buildings, and it's also theming that can continue over time as abutting owners decide to make improvements to their building.
Thanks for joining us for today's edition of Word for Word. We'll be back tomorrow with more interviews from across the Northwest.